right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Bob Pompeani here in the Fan Cave, where we take your calls every night at 412-575-2600. Hit us up. Like to hear from you on a lot of topics going on out there. You can also tweet us at KDPomp, at Chris Mueller, PGH. Chris is up at 93.7 The Fan, where you can also hear this program if you're driving around or whatever. So if you are doing that, call us at 412-575-2600. The big story is Ohtani. I'm going to save that for a second, Chris, because we're going to get into that in detail and what he did today, which was incredible. I want to start with the Steelers and the fact that it looks like Justin Herbert will play. He was wrapped up pretty good today at practice, but he was, a participant, as limited as it was. But with regard to the Steelers, Roman Wilson, that's the most intriguing name I see. He's a full participant. If he does play on Sunday, how much do you think he can add to the wide receiving core?
Well, I think the fact that we're saying it's an if-still situation with him should probably answer the second part of that. I don't think he'll have much impact. Pedigree-wise, in terms of expectations, he would almost instantly become their second-best receiver, but we hear so much, Bob. I know you hear this too from a lot of people. Mike Tomlin says it. A lot of observers say it. Pretty much every football-related person will tell you, you miss that much time as a rookie in camp. It is almost impossible to get up to speed on the fly and to actually be a significant contributor. So I understand that everybody's so starved for a wide receiver to complement George Pickens out there because what they have is so underwhelming. But I would be stunned if Roman Wilson, if he actually does play in this game, if he has any kind of serious impact on it.
So the Steelers have more wins than touchdowns. Does that change this week? Because if you look at the over and under lines, I'm tempted once again for the third straight week to go under.
I'll give you this thought exercise. I think the numbers right now, like 35.5. They're going to eventually become the NFL's version of Iowa and have a game where it's in like the teens somehow, like where Vegas predicts a 9-6 slugfest. We always like to play that game. First team to blank wins. What do you think the number is that fills in blank in that sentence for this game, Bob?
First team to 17.
Man, I'm not sure. I honestly am saying this not to be like funny. I'm not sure either team gets there. I'm not sure either team gets there because I think both coaches are very happy, in theory, to play a game that ends 16-13 or 13-10. I mean that. I mean Jim Harbaugh. I'm going to get it right. I'll just say, why don't I say Tom Crean? It's been a long day. I was up at 6:55 golfing, Bob. Cut me some slack
I
here.
get it. I know how that feels, and I know how those names can change like that.
No, Jim Harbaugh, I mean, he has deflated the football, and not in the Indianapolis Colts way in that AFC title game in Deflategate. How many passes do you think Justin Herbert has thrown this year? 46. He's thrown 3 more passes than Justin Fields, and that guy is a bona fide top 7 or 8 quarterback in the league. Harbaugh wants these guys going ground and pound. I think J.K. Dobbins is averaging something like 9.9 yards per carry. They want to beat up the Steelers. He has turned them overnight into basically the NFL's version of Michigan football, and Mike Tomlin's never going to shy away from a fist fight on the football field, metaphorically speaking. So I think that both coaches here, it's the unique situation in the modern NFL where both coaches would be more than happy playing a 13-10 slugfest.
Except when you look around the NFL, you'll see this week, I think I logged today 73 field goals. Last week, 68. It's the most field goals ever to start the first 2 weeks of the season, which tells you what a lot of teams are doing. And it's also traceable to offenses not playing a lot in the exhibition season. But I want to get into J.K. Dobbins because this is a guy who Pittsburgh fans know about, although you don't know as much as you should know because he's missed so many games in Baltimore. I think it was 42 out of 51 during his career. All sorts of injuries. Last year was an Achilles. But look at him now, averaging a ridiculous 9.9 yard per carry. And he has Gus Edwards in that same backfield with him. I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that he has a healthy season. I'd like to see where he can go. No San Diego. There we go. No Los Angeles Charger running back since LaDainian Tomlinson's led the NFL in rushing. Does he have the ability to do that?
Yeah, he does, because he was always a very good running back. I remember when he went to the Ravens in the draft, kind of everyone here did the, oh no, they got another good player who's a good fit. I think the guy has always been dynamic when healthy. He doesn't maybe look like the most explosive player. It's kind of that short little quick steps. Bob, he doesn't have that like galloping breakaway speed, but man, he is effective. He hits the hole, and then he is tough to bring down once he gets there. And they have the other thing that makes him a threat to like lead the league in rushing or to put up at least big numbers this year. They have a really dominant offensive line. I mean, they have two big-time tackles. They have Alt playing right tackle because they've got Slater at left tackle. They are prepped and built and ready and mentally, I think, in a place where they want to maul you. I think this is the kind of game, Mike Tomlin, I think, loves this kind of game because he feels like the Chargers, at least stylistically and philosophically, are going to be the perfect kind of test for the Steelers. They always want to be the Steelers, the toughest team on the field. I think they've got a real battle in that department, especially when the Chargers have the ball. I think that is a team that wants to beat you up, punch you in the face, and then punch you some more. I think it's going to be a real challenge for the Steelers when they've had really their way with the first two opposing offensive lines that they've played.
And like the Pittsburgh Steelers, they have invested heavily in their offensive line in the first round of the draft. I believe 3 of the last 4 are tackles. We'll tackle the topic of Ohtani. And Ohtani, what he did today. We're going to get into that and other stuff. I want to hear from you at 412-575-2600. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. Call us right now. All right, welcome back, and this is our GMC Sierra tweet of the night. If you didn't see it, we're going to show you highlights at 11 o'clock on this. One of the best games in the history ever of Major League Baseball. And this tweet says, since RBI became official in 1920, only one MLB player has had, over the course of his entire career, what Shohei Ohtani did tonight in one game. Now think about that. 10 runs batted in, 6 hits, 5 extra base hits, 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, and that means he's the first 50-50 guy. And Chris, this is all happening as he kind of rehabs from Tommy John surgery. So it's pretty amazing what he was able to do. And this game tonight was just incredible. I've never seen a game like that one, and based on this stat, you probably will never see one again.
Do you ding him at all because I think the last of the home runs came off of a position player? Or
no, just because he's Ohtani. I'm not going to, he still had to hit it.
Sure. And some of those guys actually struggle hitting that like 65-mile-an-hour cheese that those position players are throwing. The best guys ever to do it in every sport not only are just better than everybody else, they also seem to have an incomparable flair for the dramatic, and he certainly has that. I think he needed, 2 home runs and 2 steals to get to 50-50 tonight, and then he just does one better in every category. You can say without hyperbole, I think, that this is probably the best individual offensive game anyone has ever played in baseball. Like, very literally, that is in the conversation. I think Sean Green once had 4 home runs and 7 knocked in, and there have been people to knock in double digits. 6 for 6, 10 batted in, 5 extra base, all the things you just listed there. The guy's incomparable, and I am biased. I think Barry Bonds went on such an insane run in the early 2000s after already having been one of baseball's greatest players that I'm still tempted to say he's the best I've ever seen and the best there was, but I'm starting to wear down here, Bob. I'm starting to think that we're all having the privilege of watching the greatest baseball player who's ever lived.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. He hasn't even pitched yet, and I wonder how that will affect his situation next year. There were some reports he may pitch in the postseason. I don't know what that. He hasn't pitched all year. The ramp up to that.
That would be very dumb.
Yeah,
that would be
dumb.
very, very dumb.
They have enough pitching in
Dodgers.
LA, and they should win everything. It leads us to this tweet: Steele in the war says, "Damn, how did the Angels never do anything with him and Trout?" That's a good question because the Angels are completely mismanaged. All you have to do is look at their third baseman who's cashing checks at a rate of like $35 million a year and doing nothing.
You will probably appreciate this tweet. It comes from one of those very far, silly corners of Twitter, but somebody once put something out there to the effect of, well, tonight Mike Trout hit 3 home runs, and Shohei Ohtani did something not seen since Tungsten Arm O'Doyle of the 1888 Akron Professionals, and the Angels lost to the Tigers 9-4. Like, that was basically the story of being an Angels fan for many, many, many years. It's actually a miracle that they won a World Series and ran through, like, Terminator Barry Bonds to do it, but their fans have suffered in a very unique and very painful way out there.
Let's go to the phone lines. Let's welcome in Robert in Seven Fields, our first caller tonight on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports. Go ahead, Robert.
How's it going, Bobby?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, I love what Ohtani's doing, but my problem is when he's been in the States for 7 years, and you can't talk to reporters or anything and speak English. And my comparison between him and the other greatest player in the league right now is Aaron Judge, and he's the captain of the Yankees. And when something goes wrong out on the field, or a player steps out of bounds or something, he's there, in their face, and he's talking to them and stuff. And that's when you have a higher.
No, I don't know what happened to your phone there, Robert. You dropped off. But I do agree. At some point, I think he does know. I think a lot of guys who have interpreters actually can hear and listen, and I think they know enough about the language, Chris, that they can respond without one. Although Japanese, that's not an easy language to learn. And
I would tell him to go play. Hey, Robert, go play baseball in Japan and learn Japanese in 7 years. Get back to me with that one. I mean, I think that it's a very fair, not even critique, a very fair analysis to say that these guys understand English and are picking it up more and more as they go. But let's be honest about how things sometimes are. The media, writ large, will take a quote occasionally. I don't think this happens often, especially athletes who like to claim it happens all the time. They'll take something that's a little out of context, or the guy didn't quite mean what people thought he meant, and they'll run with it. And I think that's why many of these players who are from foreign countries who don't speak English as a first language want an interpreter to answer their questions, because they don't want to be misconstrued when they don't really have the nuances of English down pat. So I think he probably understands a lot of it, but I'm not going to blame him for not wanting to be misquoted because he tried to say something in English and it came out all garbled or not the way he intended.
Frank in Moon Township joins us right now next. What's up, Frank? How are you?
Good. How you guys doing? Listen, just a quick story about Ohtani. I was watching a talk show the other day with Rob Lowe. He said he met him in the locker room, asked him for a picture. He said he was sitting there with his Dodger jersey on and pants and shorts. He said he wouldn't take the picture until he put in a full uniform on, and then they took a picture together. Then when he went out in the stands, Lowe was sitting with an executive from the Dodgers, and he texted the executive and said, "Do you think Rob Lowe would mind if I put this picture on social media for us?" I think that's a class guy.
Well, I mean, the guy is amazing, what he's been able to do. And remember, this season started with that controversy about gambling, and his first interpreter, who is he in jail now? I haven't followed that story. Where is he?
Is it Ipe Mizuhara, I think was his name, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's facing a lot of federal troubles and problems. I think he might be going up to the big house for a while if he hasn't already. Yes, it's amazing that he's
story
doing
still
all this.
It struck me as weird that he would not have any idea that all this money is being... I don't know.
It's a little stinky here. Come on. We all think it's a little fishy that he allegedly had no clue. A lot of people have suggested, no, this really isn't as far-fetched as you think. Maybe, if you want to believe that. I guess I'm just a born cynic, and I just cast a cynical glance towards all of that. By the way, I have to go back to what our first caller said, how has he not learned English better? Have you ever seen the video? It's one of the most jarring things you'll ever see, Bob, of Nate McLouth just speaking absolutely flawless Dominican-accented Spanish to a Spanish-language station. It is one of the wildest things I have ever seen. There are people in the YouTube comments saying he speaks Dominican better than me, and I'm from the Dominican Republic. It is an absolutely crazy video to watch.
Let's go out to Chuck in Uniontown, who's one of our favorites. What's up, Chuck? Chuck? Uh-oh. Chuck. He was on the line.
Had Chuck for too long. We had him on too long. He was probably very frustrated that the Pirates are, again, not going to have a winning season. They are guaranteed not to. Bob, I have a Pirates nugget for you. Pony and I were going through this today during one of the breaks on the show. Do you realize that they are the only team since the advent of the six-division format, the doing away with of the NL West, NL East, AL West, AL East? They're the only team since that happened in 1994 that has not even so much as appeared in a single league championship series. Are you aware of this?
No, but I'm not surprised to hear it, just because. I mean,
every other team.
They haven't won a playoff series, Chris, since 1979. So
no, the Twins were the only other team we thought hadn't done it, but they got there in 2002 and lost to the Angels, who already got mentioned for that. It's one of those stats, though, that just drives home how frustrating this is. And there's another thing. I'll get on my soapbox here, since we are talking baseball, big picture. Do you realize that the Cleveland Guardians in the last 10 years, Travis Sawchik, who used to, of course, work here in Pittsburgh, cover the Pirates, he did this. He wrote this up. 10 years. You go back this year and then 9 more seasons. There are only 5 teams that have won at least 54% of their games. That's like a little benchmark, right? The Rays have done it, the Yankees have done it, the Dodgers have done it, the Astros have done it, and the little old Guardians have won over 55% of their games. Stuff like that, and the Rays obviously being in there too, but stuff like that really grinds me up when I think about the Pirates' inability to field even a competitive team every couple of years. How long has it been now? 6 years since the last winning season. Just it's very frustrating.
When you see how Baltimore turned everything around so quickly. You see Detroit this year, now they're pushing for a playoff spot, when just a month and a half ago they were like 10 games under 500, whatever it was.
Yep.
And then Milwaukee just last night clinched their division. So Milwaukee, which is comparable to Pittsburgh in size, or maybe smaller a little bit, whatever the case, but they seem to be able.
It's the smallest market, I think.
They lost their manager. They lost Corbin Burns. The thing about Jackson Chourio that they did was most amazing is not only did they draft him, 20 years old, they gave him an $80-some million deal. Pretty amazing stuff. And they were willing to bet that he would live up to it, and he has so far. We got to take a break. We're over here. Chris, we'll be back with more right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Call us.